Caution, this game contains scenes of violence and gore, as well as depictions of criminal acts. These acts are strictly punished by law. Please do not attempt to imitate them. This game also contains themes of sexual violence and self-harm. This game is a work of fiction. Any relationship to real persons, groups, places, or crimes is coincidental.
You know, Takumi, I'm supposed to be rooting for you, man. But, like, god damn. I'll make sure to keep an eye on you as best as I can, so don't worry about a thing. Just get some sleep. In other words, she'd been watching to make sure I didn't get up and start walking around. She'd be. Good night. She smiled a little before closing the curtains and leaving. Surrounded by white curtains, I let out a deep breath. I could hear lots of things. The voice of the doctor as he examined his patients, the other nurses walking around, even the door as it opened and closed. It was pretty hard to relax. Could I really sleep like this? I tried to close my eyes just to see if it would work. The second I did, the girl images that Shogun sent and the sight of the corpse nailed to the wall came flooding back to me. I forced myself to think of Satatan instead. I always thought you were a really strong boy. Inside my delusion, she was happily bouncing up and down. Next, she'd whisper to me in a sweet voice. I love how strong you are, Taki. And you don't sleepwalk, by the way. I see you every day, so I would know. Don't let any real girls fool you. You've got me, right? Let's go back to your container house and spend our gays together. Our gays? Nigga, it's July 3rd. Faggots to the back. Seta, you're so cute. Seta was my ideal wife after all. No girl could ever be better than her. Real? Who cares about the real? I couldn't wait to go home. Seta would be waiting for me with a big smile and a welcome home. Wait, Seta-tan. I'll be coming for you. You don't need to go home. What do you mean? I came to see you. Her whispered voice sounded so real. I felt her poking my cheek. At least it kind of felt like that. I slowly opened my eyes. Good morning, dork. When I saw Seta, pre-transformation Sarah, Hamanogawa version, she wasn't 1/8 scale. She was full size. She moved smoothly and realistically. I gulped and sat up, poking the life-size Seta-tan in the chest. Ah! They were soft. She wasn't a figure. It was really her. Seta-tan had come to the real world. No, this is fiction. Huh? It is, even though they're so soft. They're soft in a fictional way. I didn't know what that meant, but if they were soft, that was all that mattered. I realized belatedly that I just touched her breast and suddenly got really embarrassed. Life-size Seta was really cute. I could just die of moe. And she was realistic too. That's why I suddenly felt so guilty for touching her breasts and worried she might hate me for it. I'm sorry, Seta-tan. It's okay if it's you, Taki. Really? Yeah! I wouldn't want any other guy to do things like that to me. Especially Susumu. If that guy touched my breast, I'd blast him to the moon with my club. Shh, be quiet. The nurse will hear you. Seta-tan seemed to be paying close attention to what was going on outside the curtain. She took off her shoes and quietly... What? Hey! I almost said something but quickly put my hand over my mouth. Seta-tan was sitting on my lap. We're brushing... I'm not saying that. We're brushing up against my crotch. Oh no, my little man was... You keep pulling me in to his brain and then pulling me back out to the real world. I keep getting immersed into the fact that I'm playing this game, and then you push me away and I see the palm of my hand and I realize I'm a person. Seta-tan put her face up close to mine. She smelled good. So this is what Seta-tan smelled like. Hey, Taki. You should become... fictional too. What did she mean? You're still real. So I'll make you fake. That's okay, right? Could she do that? I can, and it feels really good. I could hear the sound of the nurses walking outside, and the doctor talking to another patient. The only thing separating me from them was a single curtain. If it was open, everyone would see us. The excitement and guilt I felt from doing something like this at the hospital was making me dizzy. Especially since I was doing it with Sadatan, my absolute favorite wife. Ooh, I was so happy. I couldn't think about anything else. I just nodded my assent. That's what I wanted to hear. I love you, Takun. She pressed her lips against mine. They were soft. Was this fake softness too? Maybe they were softer than real ones. My brain wasn't keeping up with these sudden H-game developments. All I could do was sit there. As I sat in confusion, Sadatan's tongue slipped between my lips. I felt so much pleasure I thought I'd go crazy. Who knew a kiss could feel so good? I wanted her luscious tongue to keep having its way in. I wrapped my hands around her waist, but her body was flat because she wasn't real. It was soft, but it was flat. Like kissing paper, maybe? But it felt so good that I didn't care. I was so overcome that I couldn't even think about it. Sadatan was so hot. She sucked on my tongue. It felt like I was about to die. I couldn't take it. I was starting to hurt. The suction coming from her mouth was incredible. I tried to pull my tongue back, but my tongue was being pulled forward so hard I thought it might tear. And not just my tongue. Back of my throat burned. My eyes were about to pop out their sockets. I couldn't breathe. My chest hurt. It felt like my stomach was being turned inside out. She sucked harder. Sadatan was sucking up everything, my organs, my flesh, my bones. I could feel my beating heart pounding as it came up my throat. I could hear the thick arteries connected to it snapping within my body. It was an impossible feeling. The pain was unbearable, but more than that, it felt good? What the fuck? My whole body had become an erogenous zone. Literally every inch of me. Not just my skin, but the inside of my throat, my heart, my blood vessels, my lungs, my intestines. Sadatan had her way with my body. Sucked it up. Being eaten by her felt so good. Made me so happy that I felt I might pass out. I was going to die. I was going to die of pleasure. Sadatan let go, satisfied after sucking up everything from inside my body. A mix of blood and drool was dripping from her lips. Takun, you were delicious. She smiled seductively. I didn't have the strength to answer. She'd taken everything from me. I never felt such incredible pleasure. I couldn't even think. My mind felt like it was in a thick fog. I had trouble forming coherent thoughts. Look, Taki. Look at your body. You're fake now. Okay, you're flat now. Unsteadily, I lowered myself out of the bed. My body was flat like hers now. It was hard to walk. I felt unsteady and soft, and couldn't stand up. I fell to my knees and then collapsed to the ground without a sound. Sadatan, I can't get up. Help me. I heard her voice from up on the bed. Welcome to the world of fiction. I leapt up only to find myself on my bed. My heart was pounding so fast. My heart was still in my chest. I patted myself all around my body. Wasn't flat. I was still 3D. Sadatan was nowhere to be seen. Of course she wasn't. A dream, huh? I wasn't sure if that had been a good dream or a bad one. I let out an unconscious fuck. I let out an unconscious sigh. What I had experienced was just right out of a doujinshi I had bought. A blood tune one by Circle Pitu Pitu. I must have used that doujinshi as a basis for my delusions. Why didn't I realize why I was in a dream? I knew, of course, that you never knew you were in a dream until you were in one. But it still bothered me. Nishijo. I heard a voice call me from behind the curtain. It quickly opened. I saw the nurse from before, Hazuki.
おはようございます。
Good morning. I looked down and bowed to her slightly and
結局
silently.
3時間ぐっ
You
すり
slept
で
for
したね。
3 whole hours. Huh? It's been 3 hours already? I hadn't really kept track of time because of that crazy dream. But I must have been really
少しう
tired.
なされていた
You
みたい
seem
で
to
す
be
けど、
having some kind of
大丈
nightmare.
夫
Are you okay? I couldn't tell her that it was a naughty dream. I was a little ashamed of my libido, to be honest.
でも、無遊病の
But
症
there
状
was
は
no sign of
結局出ませ
sleepwalking,
ん
I
で
can
した
tell
よ。
you that. Her tone was
まあ、
reassuring.
今日はたま
Well,
たま
it's
症状
possible
が出
that you
なかっ
just
ただ
didn't
けか
show
も
any
しれないか
symptoms
ら、
today.
無
We
遊
can't
病
be
でないっていう
100%
断定
certain.
はできないですけ
No,
ど、
I'm not a sleepwalker. I needed to ask the question I came here for, but I didn't see the doctor. Hazuki offered me a sheet of paper. I looked at it. There were various
それ
questions for
は
me to
あな
answer.
たの心
This
理
is a
状態を
worksheet
把
that
握
will
する
help
た
us
めのチェッ
understand
ク
your
シート
current
で
mental
す。
state. Think of it
心
like
理
a
テストのよう
psychological
なもの
test.
ね。
Once you fill it out, the
それを
doctor
書い
says
てく
you're
れた
free to go.
ごめんなさい。ずっと診察が続いてて、
Sorry, he's busy with other he's busy with
来
other
週まで
patients.
様子を
He
見
says
て、
to wait a week,
まだ
and if your
改善が見
symptoms
られ
don't
ない
get
ような
better,
らもう
to
一度
come
来てく
back.
ださい。
To be fair, he wasn't my personal physician or anything like that. He'd probably just given Hazuki his nurse instructions for me. But what was the point of even coming to this hospital? I wanted to ask about the awful possibility I was being controlled by someone who wasn't me. But Hazuki looked so apologetic, I didn't have the courage to demand to see the doctor. I decided to just fill out the worksheet she'd given me. I'd write down the symptoms I was experiencing on the back. I decided. Then I would come next week to talk
チ
to
ェッ
him
クシー
again.
トは質問
It's a
に
simple
対して
form.
イエス
You'll
か
be
ノー
asked
か
a
だけを
series of
答える
yes or
簡
no
単に当て
questions.
はまる点があっ
If
たら、
any of it
イエス
applies
に
to
チェッ
you,
クしてくだ
please
さい。
check
今後の
yes.
西条さんの治
We'll
療
use
に
this
対
to
する
determine
参
if
考
you
にし
need
ま
any
すから、
further
じ
treatment.
っくり考
So
えて
please
答え
think
てくだ
carefully
さ
about
い。
your answers. Hazuki was kind enough to give me a full explanation. Some of the questions on the test were weird, not the sort of things you would expect to be asked at a hospital. It was almost like one of those online personality quizzes. What would answering these questions tell them? Hazuki was staring at me. She wasn't getting ready to leave. It didn't seem like she had nothing better to do. She was observing me. No, watching over me. Being watched made me nervous, and so it was hard to think about the questions. But I suppose that was just a nurse's job. I decided to forget it and fill out the sheet. You sometimes have. Okay, I'm gonna answer these the same, like the way I would if it was actually me. Yes. Yes. No. Okay. Fuck that. No. Actually, the other day I did have a never mind, I'm not gonna tell that story. Have you ever checked the digital clock and seen the same numbers repeat? Yeah, 222. What? You cried within the last month. Yes. I'm only putting this down because it's a little accurate. The rest of these I'm gonna answer based of myself. It's in front of an auto. No. Do you ever have difficulty going? No. Not a fan of haunted houses. I'm a fan. Yes. Do you think aliens are real? Well, that's I'm more of a maybe. No. No. Yes. Yes. You're asleep. Yes. 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 Do you have trouble making? Yes. Sorry, living make no. Yes.
はい、お疲れ様で
Okay.
した。
Thank you. For anybody in the know, that premonition was about a lawnmower. When I checked off the last few questions, Hazuki spoke to me before I had a chance to say anything to her. I'd been really embarrassed, having her watch me the whole time. Maybe my face had been red. I quietly handed over the worksheet, trying not to look at her face. I hadn't the time to write the symptoms on the back.
それでは、待合室でお
Now
待ちくだ
please
さい。
wait in the
お
waiting
薬が
room.
出てますか
You'll
ら。
be given some medicine. Medicine? It's getting some kind of prescription. Hold on. Okay, quick save is F8. The doctor hadn't said a word about that. Yeah, those were the doctor's instructions. Some mild sedatives that'll help you sleep and don't have any side effects. Woo! Thanks, Doc. I was appreciative, but the thought of waiting in that lobby again made me feel miserable. Excuse me. Life is suffering caused by desire. To end the suffering, we must end desire. Buddhist ass nigga. By the time I got back to Shibuya, it was evening. The hospital itself was in Shibuya Ward, but the closest station was Yoyogi. Taking the train was the fastest way to get there and back. The Yamanote line was as crowded as ever, though, and riding just 2 stations was enough to make me feel exhausted. I didn't think I was up for getting on another train, so I decided to walk from Shibuya Station to the base. There were too many people at the stations. I hated crowds. They always made me feel like I was going to pass out. I didn't want to spend any more time here than I had to, so I tried quickly to get across Scramble Crossing. The area was so packed it was hard to even walk in a straight line. If you didn't keep a steady forward pace, you'd run into the people walking beside you or get hit from behind. There were also people blocking your path, trying to hand you packs of tissues with ads on them. They even forced them into your pocket. These niggas be being their dicks. I ignored the first one, but the second was a cute lady, so holy shit, nigga. Lord, forgive me. These tissue people were just the worst. Yeah, I know, right, dude? Guys are the worst. I looked at the tissue that I'd been given. This pack came with a small flyer and with white text on a red background. I swear if it says some shit about whose eyes are those. It was a pretty weird color combination, kind of spooky. It wasn't a combination you saw often, that much I was sure of. I read the flyer as I walked along. There's a shortage of type B blood. Okay, whatever. I hadn't seen anything when I'd gone there 4 years ago. Maybe it was some kind of new diagnostic that had gotten popular over the years. But still, felt like I'd seen it before. Deja vu again. It felt like that was happening all the time lately. It was really creepy when your body and mind refused to do what you wanted them to do. So I tried to dig through my memories to find out what was going on with this deja vu. My mother used to take me to the hospital about once a week. No matter what they asked, I'd never respond. I'd just move my head up and down or side to side. At first, they saw me in a normal exam room, but then I showed no signs of recovery, and they started sending me someplace different. The other place was some kind of counseling room. It had a sofa and lots of stuffed animals. It must have been decorated with the aim of putting the patient at ease. Dr. Takashina never blamed anybody. He just kept trying to make me better. He was the only one who figured out that I could speak, but just didn't want to say anything. My mother would always talk to me in a deliberately chipper voice. Dr. Takashina would always welcome me with a bright smile. The nurses were always kind too, and... It felt like to me there had always been somebody else in that room. Right, he was always wearing a dark black suit. It was a weird outfit to see in a hospital. This man is so fucking hot. He was just as quiet as I was. I don't think I ever heard him talk. I never did figure out who he was. He didn't feel like it. Is that a mole or is that something okay, that's just something on my fucking monitor. He always stood off to the side, looking out the window. I always called him Mr. Nozomi, but he had never actually given me his name, though. Nozomi. The man in the suit always wore a small badge. It probably said Nozomi on it. That was on the name of the fucking... Yeah, it was on the form. There you go. I had to find the word. Yeah, the worksheet. Fuck off. No matter what I thought I'd seen it before, it felt a little better now that the mystery was solved. What was Nozomi, though? It was clearly the name of some kind of company. Maybe it's a counter-terrorist organization. Fuck off, dude. I can't stand this nigga. When I got back to the base, I ran a search for Nozomi, but it was just a common word that meant wish in Japanese too, so there were too many results to narrow down. Thinking it back, the logical assumption was that Mr. Nozomi worked for the company that made those worksheets. It was a salesman that had been visiting the hospital. Sometime recently, he managed to sell the hospital on using the sheets, and today I'd been asked to fill one of them out. No, wait, that was impossible. I'd never heard of a salesman or somebody on the outside being allowed to sit in on a patient's sessions. Just who was that guy? Crap, now I had another nagging memory to deal with. least I figured out where the deja vu was coming from. I decided that until next week I would ask the doctor about my memories. Until then, I'd forget about school and just stay in my room. I couldn't go to school if there was someone there trying to hurt me. I didn't want to break my schedule, but it wouldn't do me any good if I was dead. I gave up on my search for Nozomi and went to @Chan to see if there were any interesting threads. New Gen Group 1, pregnant man crucified. Even the ESO board had to recreate New Gen murders in the ESO thread. I'm just getting sick of it. When I logged into ESO, Grim was there. Okay. Hold on. Let me just say that holy shit, this looks so fucking bad. For the love of God, they couldn't have just drawn the damn character. It's all new gen crap. Well, that's the biggest story right now. Every time there's a new case, it's a big festival. Everybody goes crazy. They haven't caught the killer yet? You know, the cops are morons, lols. Some idiots have decided it's actually cute. That demon girl. Visions of the dark eyes of the girl I'd seen during the crucifixion killing came back to me, and I shivered. I didn't want to remember it all, but the slightest little thing and memories came flooding back. I'd seen the killer's face. I knew who she was. Should I have told the cops? But I didn't want to get involved. Demon girl. Oh, Stan. I joined a new gen community on Fure Para. You're getting too into it. The only ones in our guild who aren't into it are you and Bis 6 Gagey. Seriously? If that was true, then I wouldn't be able to keep up with the discussion in our chat channel. It's just crazy to read about. I knew you were into girl stuff. But don't you tell me why you're the kind of guy who wants to see. Fuck, man, I can't read. The crucified corpse was just a mess. I thought I'd call it some piece of artwork for a minute. If you wanted to call it artwork, I guess you could. Nah, I'd better if they had some perverted sexual element to it. It's like the ultimate kind of sadism and masochism. This guy's a goner. Somebody needs to do something about him. Once you lose your virginity, you'll understand. So you're telling me you're not a virgin? You're a traitor, Ors. Anyways, there's some kind of stuff on aggregator sites. Take a look sometime. They hurt. I wanted to run away from the fact I'd been at a murder scene. That's why I cut myself off from all information about New Gen. That's how I hoped I could convince myself that it was all a delusion, but in ESO, I was practically a god. I wasn't strong enough to... I wasn't enough to be strong. I had to know everything. Especially since I was kind of a leader in the guild. If I was supposed to be the leader, but I couldn't even keep up with whatever everyone was talking about, it would just be embarrassing. I had to avoid that. I went to the address that Grim gave me. The top banner read New Gen Aggregator in big letters. The aggregator sites were kind of wiki, where any number of people could add information to articles about a certain topic. Exam results. Your delusion is within normal parameters. Your real life is relatively stable, with time for both hanging out with friends and watching TV or playing video games by yourself. Humans as a species need a certain amount of illusions. They're what makes life worth living. You are a person who is capable of enjoying delusions as well as using them to make a ISA's comment. Sing. This is what you should do. The act of singing takes place in the real world. The emotions you put into a song take the place in the world of your delusions. You can have both of them, delusions and reality. You can share them with many other people. Yua's comment. There's nothing creepy about enjoying an anime, but make sure it's not the only thing you ever talk about. Okay, yeah. What does Ors mean? An emoji that shows a person dropped all fours on a depressed state. The O is the head, the R is the hands and the torso, and the Z is the legs. It's usually used to indicate depression, failure, or giving up. The phrase has no set pronunciation. Some people pronounce it Ors, others Ors, and others call it the depression slump. Okay, so that's what the diagnosis is. Huh. Wait, who the fuck is ISA? Who is... Wait, who is ISA? Some of the information wasn't trustworthy in the slightest, and sometimes there were trolls. But if you wanted an easy way to get a handle on the basic facts of something, it was good. Delutal. Okay. There were always tons of links, for one thing. I decided to start with an article called The Case So Far. My pulse started to quicken. Just reading the site was enough to make me nervous. I could feel the sweat forming on my hands. The first case, they called it the group dive, was when a group of 5 boys and girls from a high school had all jumped off a building. It happened on September 7th, about a month ago. It was in the middle of the night, at a place called Shibuya Cornelius Tower. The 5 had jumped off the building's helipad and died instantly on impact. The autopsy showed that each of them had DNA belonging to someone else under their nails, and there were scratch marks found too. It was theorized that from this, the 5 of them must have jumped off while holding hands. There was no sign of any kind of suicide note left on the roof. Below was a summary of some information added by some internet detective. These types are often referred to as snakes, who'd actually gone to Cornelius Tower. According to him, the roof was off limits to visitors, and the door was kept locked at all times. Of course, it was locked at the time of the jump too. None of the deceased had a key on their bodies when they'd been found. This meant that the helipad was, in a way, a locked room, like you saw in murder mysteries. There was nothing to suggest how the 5 of them had gotten up there. It was entirely likely that someone had been there as well. The second case, the pregnant man, happened on September 19th, around 12 days after the first. Early in the morning, near a Shibuya station underpass, a college student was walking home from karaoke when they'd found a blood-stained man collapsed on the ground. The collapsed man was a university student who lived in Shibuya ward named Chizuo Konoe. He was dead when he was found, but he had an unnatural bulge in his stomach. The autopsy showed that someone had opened up his chest, shoved a newborn baby into his stomach, and then sewn him back up. In addition, DNA analysis had shown that there was no relation between the baby and the man. He was, according to reports, unmarried and had no girlfriend. The rest of it was internet speculation. Dex is playing Uma Musume Pretty Derby now. The rest of it was internet speculation, but the baby appeared to be in the 32nd week of pregnancy, which would mean it was probably removed from the mother by C-section. Who the mother was, though, or where she was, or what she was doing, or even if she was alive or dead, none of that was known. It was possible that the cops knew, but if they did, they weren't talking. I looked away from the monitor, feeling like I was about to throw up. This was disgusting. The killer was insane. I knew that for sure. And it was also possible that girl had been behind these horrible murders. Well, Japan's screwed. I took the moment to gaze at my beautiful Sadatan. Looking at her helped me calm down. I thought about taking the sedatives the doctor had given me, but for now, Sadatan was good enough. Still, though, I had to do it to keep up Nightheart's reputation as a leader. But reading these hurt. Hey, a delusion.
そんなに辛いならさ、読まなくていいって。タッキーがド M ってな
I mean, if you're a masochist, I won't stop you. But seeing you suffer hurts.
もうやめよ。
Forget about this. Just do something fun.
いつもみたく。
You can use me to. Oh.
いいからさ。
Sadatan was such a nice girl. She was my only true ally, my wife. I put my elbow on the table and rested my head in my hand, taking deep breaths as I stared at Sadatan's smile. That felt so much better. Maybe I could read a little more if I took breaks to glance over at Sadatan. I decided to give it a try. Why had these two seemingly separate incidents both been given the label New Generation Madness? The group dive was treated as just a suicide at first, but after the pregnant man case, the net started taking another look at the group dive and found out how many strange elements there were to the case. Speculation began that it was actually a murder and not a suicide. Hiki Niki, Futanari Daisuki, Pantu Pai Pai Pari, Everyday Buddy Buddy. I can't continue on Kon. A good come, Trick to Watori, Nyokin Yoki Moon. Whatever. Supposedly, the parents of the dead kids and their friends all said there was no way they could have killed themselves, since both the cases were in Shibuya, a traditional center for young people. The news started calling it the madness created by the new generation of youth, and then simply the new generation madness. The name stuck. And then there was the third case, the crucified murder they were calling it. That was the one I had seen. The aggregator site didn't have much information on the case because it was so new. The murder man was Hisa Ota, a 56-year-old college professor. He'd been nailed with stakes to the concrete wall of an empty house. Sure his name wasn't fucking James of Team Rocket? Starting at 8 p.m., the estimated time of the crime, neighbors heard what sounded like something hammering a nail. The sound lasted for approximately an hour. I'd heard that sound too. I could still hear it. It was an awful sound. For what it was worth, no connection had been found between it and the group dive or the pregnant man. But after three bizarre incidents in the same city of Shibuya, everyone naturally treated the crucified murder as a third part of the new generation madness. The media and police were all saying that all three were committed by different individuals, but the position, or rather hope of most people online, was that it was a single person, or failing that, a single group. There were some bizarre theories involving the occult going around too, and some people were saying Nugent got its start in the earthquake 2 months ago. 2 months ago, there had been an Intensity 3 earthquake in Shibuya. An Intensity 3 quake was small enough that you could be walking down the street and not feel it. But despite the small size of the quake, it made the news because 8 people had died. Looking back, it was true the Nugent incident started after the earthquake. So proponents of the occult theory were saying that the new deaths of the earthquake could be counted as the first Nugent case. Sometimes they get into arguments with the more mainstream Nugent theorists. No matter who was behind it, it was bizarre that 3 such incidents could happen without a single clue as to who was behind it. A lot of people online were eagerly awaiting a 4th incident too. If I wasn't directly involved, I might have been all WKTK myself, participating in the festival and eagerly awaiting for a 4th incident too. Damn it, they were all having so much fun when I was feeling miserable. Why can't you just catch the guy already? It'd been over a week since Crucified, and there had been nothing from the demon girl or the police. If they knew I was there, at minimum, the police would have come to talk to me, but there was no sign of them. It looked like I was going to be able to stay out of this, to not get involved. Can you see the future? Yua's words flashed through my mind. If you can't see the future, I don't know how to explain how you'd have these images. Just when I was about to finally relax, I've suddenly found myself feeling awful again. The photos that Shogun had sent me, they were still stored on my computer. Everything Yua had said was just a figment of her own delusions. It was crazy. It wasn't even a real theory. I had been able to ask about it at the hospital, but there was no way I could have been someplace else while I was awake, doing something I didn't remember. It was impossible. It had never happened before, for one thing. Those girl photos had to be fake. If you think they are, then prove it. Let's analyze those images. Sadaton. They're creepy, and I don't really want Sadaton. It hurts. If you can prove that they're fake to that woman, you'll be able to go back to your normal life and have nothing to be afraid of. You've got to do it. Yeah, that's right. You seemed convinced I was the one behind Crucified, but that was impossible. I'd seen the person who'd actually done it. I couldn't let her blame me for the crime. I gulped down and double-clicked to open the folder where my cash was stored. Yasuji Ban entered the conference hall at Shibuya Police Station for the first time in 3 days. The conference for what was being called it's too late. It's too late at night for this. The Mari Yamacho crucifixion murder had already begun. and some of the officers were glaring at him for being late. Bond forced a weak smile at them before sitting down, telling them he'd been in the toilet throwing up. Didn't seem like it would suit the current. Telling him he'd been in the toilet throwing up didn't. Fuck. Oh my god. Hold on, let me down some more fucking monster energy. So I can fucking. Honestly, I think the reason why I hate energy drinks is because I was just drinking shitty ones. This monster is like just a shitty popsicle, but it still isn't like as chemical as a fucking C4. I tried the PewDiePie C4 and both Sour Patch ones, and oh my god, it was so bad. They had assembled a task force to handle the Maruyama crucifixion murder the morning after the incident. Between the Cornelius Tower Group suicide and the Shibuya Station area baby murder cases, baby alien murder cases, the police force was already stretched thin. So even Bond, a nobody lieutenant from Section 1 of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police, had been sent in to help out the Shibuya ward cops. Since all three cases had happened in the jurisdiction of the Shibuya police, there was now a highly unusual situation. 3 different special task forces at a single station. Because of this, the team had to take turns scheduling their day in the big conference room. Since the media kept calling it the new generation madness, there was a rumor going around that they were going to resolve the shortage of officers by bringing together all 3 under a new gen special task force. All the officers thought it was a stupid idea, but that didn't mean it wouldn't happen. Lieutenant, give me your report. Captain Matsunaga was Bond's boss, and the leader of the task force. He glanced sharply at Bond, but Bond didn't notice. He took a deep breath while waving a paper fan at his face. Lieutenant Bond, are you listening to me? Oh. Hey, it's that guy from the school. Only when Bond's partner, a rookie detective named Suwa, whispered to him, did he realize he was being called on. Oh, sorry. Suwa will give the report. Me? I told you to. Why are his eyes so small? Holy shit. Get to it. He's also so disheveled. His thing isn't even tied up all the way. Is this shit gonna be some Detroit Become Human type of bullshit where there's a billion fucking people that all connect to the main story? We find okay. Also, I'd like to say he looks like an Ace Attorney character. Excuse me. Murmurs broke out in the room. The air instantly became tense. The detectives from the Shibuya police all began to scribble down notes, careful not to miss anything he said. They were desperate to solve this case. There had been 2 brutal murders. The group dive was still classified as a suicide in the span of a single month in their district. They needed to catch the person responsible, and fuck. And now, even if it meant dropping their usual stoic demeanor, I'll put the image up on the projector. Suwa put up an image on the projector screen, just like Bond had told him to do before they'd started. It showed a narrow, dirty back alleyway in Maruyama-cho. It was night, and there were few lights, so it was hard to see much of anything at all. This is the camera footage from a commercial parking lot around 50 meters of the crime scene. The parking lot was a tiny one, with no more than 2 spaces. It was located on a tiny strip of land crammed between buildings. From here, you couldn't see the crime scene. You could barely see the road in front of it. It showed the road a street away from where the killing took place. There was no audio on it either. The footage had a timestamp on the bottom right. It read, let me do math real quick, 10:34. No, 11:34. As I'm sure you're aware, a resident testified about hearing a sound like someone hammering a stake after 11 and continued until 11:30. This video is from 11:34. That is immediately after the incident. The suspicious person appears on camera around 11:34:53 seconds. For a 6-second period, you can see them running down the street toward the camera. It's gonna be just then a person. It is Takumi. Just then a person appeared on the screen. They were running toward the camera in a clearly disturbed manner. The camera's resolution was low enough that it was hard to immediately tell if the person was male or... You sure? But Bond had already spoken to his science lab and had them analyze it. The lab says the individual is male, somewhere in his late teens to 20s. They were able to get a physical description of him that said the school uniform he's wearing is a pretty distinctive one. It's used by Suimei Academy, located in Shoto. And if you look at his right hand, the image changed to a close-up of the person's hand. It was holding something. This is easier to see in slow motion, but if you watch his arms while he's running, you'll see that what he's holding reflects light from the parking lot's lamps. When it was time to reveal the big discovery, Bond took over. From its shape, it may be one of the cross sticks used in the crime. More murmurs from the detectives. The killer behind the crucified murder might be a teenager. That was a shock. Maybe the media's new generation madness was more than just a catchy slogan. So, this boy is our best lead at the moment? That's right. Bond stroked his unshaved chin. It was a habit of his. Whenever he got a step closer to finding a criminal, he'd run his fingers through the stubble and enjoy his victory. That's all we have. Sua sighed and sat down. That was really mean. You took the best part. Bond ignored Sua's complaints and stared at the image of the teenage boy on the projector. We finally got a lead. Time to make sure it doesn't go to waste. Excuse me. I found the image Shogun sent me in my cache folder. It was a JPEG numbered 168491. There was still a big part of me that didn't want to look at it. I mean, it was disgusting. If I looked at it, I was sure to remember the scene as if it was in the real world. No, but if I was going to prove you are wrong and prove my innocence and that I was safe, I would need proof. Sadatan was here to help too. I could handle a little gore. I worked up my courage and double-clicked on the file to open it. Ooh, nigga! Ugh. Yeah, it was gory alright, but compared to what I'd seen in the real world, it wasn't that bad. It was a fake too, right? I could handle it. The first time I'd looked at it, I'd only taken a quick glance before closing it. I hadn't looked at the whole image from top to bottom. This time I was able to take a closer look, even if I had to suppress the urge to vomit. I don't know how to tell if an image was fake. Did you look at the direction of the shadows, the background, things like that, to see if anything was wrong? It seemed to me the most likely possibility was that they'd taken a photo in the alley first, and then added the staked corpse later. Then the day after Shogun sent this to me, they'd carried out the murder just like in the photo. Because of the darkness and low resolution of the photo, I couldn't tell much about the body. Only the stakes were clearly visible. The light was focused on an area surrounding the corpse, as if that was the only thing they wanted the viewer to see. It felt like whoever had taken the picture had it framed like that deliberately. There was no way the light shining right on the body... Fuck me. No! There was no way the light shining right on the body and nothing... Well, the light was shining... There's no way the light shining right on the body and nothing else was a coincidence. Or maybe it was a coincidence. I hadn't gotten a clear look at the scene, and I was there for real, so I couldn't say for sure. The demon girl wasn't in the picture. But if you stared at the picture until you thought your eyes would bleed, you could make out what looked like a person in the darkness on the left edge. I almost missed it. Between the low resolution and how they were standing in the shadows, they were almost impossible to spot. On my first glance, I missed them completely. This was a doctored photo. Or it should have been. So maybe the person who took it let themselves get photographed by accident and forgot to delete it when they added in the corpse. They were wearing a Suime uniform. It must have been that demon girl then. She wore one too. But the person in the uniform seemed to have short hair. The demon girl had long hair. So did Yua. I decided to use image processing software to make it easier to see. I booted up the software and dragged the image on top of it. Then I gulped before going to the level adjustment slider in the menu. You can already tell it's him. I made the photo brighter and... Huh? What's this? What's going on here? The person in the photo. The person in the photo was without question. Me. Why me? This made no sense. I'd never even been there until September 29th. This was fake too, it had to be. I couldn't find anything of it at all, but this was definitely fake. It had to be. Shogun had sent it to me on the 28th, and the crucified killing happened on the 29th. If this photo showed what happened on the 29th, it would be a photo of the future.